Hello everyone, I'm Tomasz, this is Lucas and this is Artur. We are all members of Debian Cloud Team. We will need to slide. We will want to present what we are doing and how our team is organized, what we are working on, what are our projects, also what are our problems and plans for the future. So our intention, according to Debian social contract, is to provide Debian to users wherever they are. Now more and more people are moving into the cloud. They are using not only computers on personal computers or computers on premise, but also they are using remote computers and computers in the cloud. So as Debian was moving through technologies providing ability to run Debian from floppies, from CDs, also on flash and network installing now. Now we want also to provide the same quality of Debian to the cloud. The biggest problem with the cloud is that you cannot just run installer on the cloud because most of the cloud environments expect that you as a user have already installed and configured image, so it's a bit more like something in between live image and hibernated image that was snapshotted and then is ready to run on 1 or 1,000 machines. So that's our biggest challenge, and we need to provide Debian in such environment.
Okay, so I'll talk about the scope of this talk. So this is introduction, so we'll give you an overview. We will not go deep into technical details. If you want to discuss more stuff, go deep into these details, you should try to attend our BOF on Monday, 13:30, so you can check the schedule. But in general, we are open for discussion. This talk, we will try to get feedback from you, and we are always welcoming new members because we have a lot of stuff to do, and usually we don't have enough people to do everything that we want. So as I mentioned, we want to understand your usage in general as Debian users. We want to know if you are using Debian in the cloud. If you are not using, why? Because we want to improve our work. We also want to understand where you are using the Debian in the cloud. So you are using public clouds, if you are using private clouds, how you build your images. You are using the image that our team provides, so the image that the Debian Cloud Team built, and if you are using your custom images, if you are using our own tooling, the Debian Cloud Team tooling, or if you have your own scripts, you want to understand the current status and to improve our work in general. So if you think that we need to add some specific stuff, if you are already a user and think that you need some specific stuff to those images, please, you can interrupt me whenever you want and give us some feedback. So about our team, so we, as the other teams, we have some members. Most of us are already Debian developers. We have some delegates. So since October last year, Luca Filipposi, who unfortunately is not here, is one of our delegates. We have Steve McIntyre, one other delegate, and we have Tomasz. So they represent our team. We also work very closely with some cloud providers. So there we have some employees that they are also Debian contributors. So we are working closely to make Debian, those Debian Cloud images run better in those environments. We also are working with SPI to manage our accounts on those cloud providers. The cloud providers that we are working with right now is Google Cloud, AWS, and Microsoft Azure. So SPI help us with this legalized stuff and all these things. Okay, if you want to contact us in general, so as you can see, we want a lot of feedback That's why we are here. So we have a mailing list. You can subscribe to that mailing list. It's named Debian Cloud in list.debian.org. We have our RSC channel. It's Debian Cloud in OFTC server. We host most of our work in Salsa. So there is also a Cloud Team group. We have our wiki page with a lot of information there. So you will find details about our images, some IDs if you want to use our images in public clouds, how we build those images if you want to build your own images. Sorry. So if you want to check our work in general, the wiki is a good place to check. And most of the work that we've been doing are done during DebConfs and our sprints in general. So in this wiki page, there is a report of our last sprint. So you find what we are working on and all this stuff. So please, if you want to contact us, check one of these items here.
Yeah, so we are quite young team. This is history, how we were growing, how we were progressing through time. It's probably not full image. I might forgot some things. It's result of discussions and getting common view from different people. If I forgot someone or some important event, excuse me, totally my fault. Basically, in 2013, we had initial discussions at DebConf in Waumarkus. James Bromberger started some informal discussions there. He contacted, or he got contacted also by some people who were already using cloud or who were interested. At similar time, Jimmy Kaplowitz, who was at that time employee of Google, was also starting working on providing Debian images for that cloud. And shortly after, we started working on scripts to build images, initially, as I mentioned, for Amazon, for AWS, and for Google. And then for the next 2 years, and also at DebConf in Portland and in Heidelberg, we were discussing, we were working on some more scripts to build those images. We were trying to get common features. I will mention this later when we will be talking about our tools, but basically we were trying to get our scripts to have common criteria, common ground, and not so all the clouds use totally different set of tools and totally different setup. In 2016, so at Cape Town, we had even more discussions, and we gathered enough people so it made sense to organize first sprints. We organized this sprint in Seattle, and since then we were organizing our sprints regularly. We were discussing about idea of the team, about tooling, about setup, and so on. In 2000. After one of the sprints, our last sprint, our team got delegated because we decided it's good time and it's good idea to have it formally set up. And in 2019, again, as a result of discussions during one of the sprints, we worked with SPI to create official Debian accounts in the clouds managed by SPI with total legal protection and so on.
Okay, so you already know about the history of our team. Sorry. As you can see, it's a new team, so we have I don't know 5-6 years working on this cloud stuff. But what we do as a team. So what are our responsibilities? Our main goal is to provide official Debian images to run in the clouds, those different clouds, public clouds, private clouds. And to do that, we maintain some cloud-related packages, such as Cloud Init, some agents running on some specific cloud providers, but not all of them, such as Boto, which is a Python package to interact with AWS. And so we try to maintain all of those cloud-related packages. We also are responsible to manage Debian accounts with cloud providers with the help of SPI. Sorry again. And now we are trying to start working on Debian package mirrors on those cloud providers because that's an important requirement for them. So we're starting to maintain those mirrors because it will reduce the cost of the traffic, so you don't need to get outside of the cloud to fetch some packages. We will reduce the latency in general. Some use case you will need to use VPCs and you don't want to access stuff outside of the cloud. So we are starting to work to implement those Debian package mirrors in those public cloud providers. And okay, so as I said, the main goal is to provide those stable Debian images for cloud providers. So that's the main goal. But we also want to test things before we release them. So we also provide some testing images that's not official, but they are available in some cloud providers. They are not available in the marketplaces. So you as a user will not be able to find those testing images in the marketplace. But if you check our wiki page, you will find some IDs and you'll be able to test them as well. Something that is under discussion is that we want to build some variants of those images. So we just built Debian stable images using Debian main. And we are thinking of, it's under discussion, so we want to get some feedback from you as well. So sometimes to make use of the hardware that we have in those cloud providers, we need some non-free software. For instance, when you are working with HPC, so you need to enable to run some stuff on GPUs, you need to install some drivers, and they are usually not free. So we are thinking about to provide some non-official images with those drivers to make the life of our users easier. So it's under discussion. If you have any feedback or if you want to make any comments, you should reach out to us and discuss. We also want to know if you think that it's needed to add new languages and locales in our images by default, if you think that we need to add some additional software. So yeah, we want feedback, as you can see. So you can start thinking about, and in the end you can make some questions and suggestions for us. And those images, those official images, so those are Debian stable images, they are built by Debian people in Debian hardware, and they are available in AWS, Azure, Google Compute Engine, and OpenStack. So that's where we are right now. And until now, all those images are published in different accounts, managed by different peoples. So I think
yeah, so basically, as I mentioned in this slide about our history, different people coming from different companies were creating accounts and were creating and providing images. And usually it was left as is, but it was getting more and more complex to manage those accounts, especially as we also need to create user accounts for some Debian developers to be able to upload those images, to register them, to test, to try building new variants, as Lucas mentioned. So during recent sprint, we decided it's time to become more professional and to create official Debian accounts managed by SPI with full legal responsibilities and similar requirements of cloud providers. So now we are in the process of creating those accounts. Currently, as for today, Debian has the process of creating official Debian images are done for Microsoft Azure and for Google Cloud Engine. On Amazon, it's not yet finished. There are still some legal discussions between SPI and Amazon. I'm not sure what's the status there, but we are in the process. And so we hoped to get Buster released already on official Debian accounts. work in 2/3, so 66% of success is not too bad. It's still not yet fully finished on Amazon, as I mentioned, but we are slowly getting there. In the future, we will also think about using those accounts to provide access for Debian developers who need to run something in the cloud, but for now, it's in the phase of plans. We first want to finish this, and because it means that we will also need to integrate those cloud accounts and cloud identity with our LDAP, which there is no standard way of doing this across all the clouds, so we will need to do this separately for each of the cloud providers. But we are moving there slowly.
Yeah, so we are working to unify those Debian accounts, so we are building our own tooling to manage all these things. So SPI is helping us, as Thomas said. So these official accounts will be great because we will be in those marketplaces as Debian project, not some random Debian contributor. So we will have more visibility on those marketplaces. We will have some stable names and identifiers, so it will be easier for our users in general. So that will be great. Will be help us in the technical side and also this marketplace stuff and all these things. Now talking about our tooling. So what do we use to build those images? For now we are using FAI. It's our main tool to build those images. We have migrated from Bootstrap.
Basically, initially we were using a different tool for different clouds. I'm not sure what was at the very beginning used for Amazon, but very quickly we moved to Bootstrap Visit. For Google, Jimmy used his own scripts. Then we also integrated this into Bootstrap VZ. It was quite good tool written in Python, extensible, but quickly it became a little bit too complex, especially as we were thinking about providing different variants and adding new cloud provider and new target meant that we had to write too much code, which was not easily shared between those targets. So after some discussions at one of the sprints in Seattle, we went through different solutions. We were discussing whether we want to rewrite something, whether we want to write something from the scratch. But finally, we decided to use FAI with great help of Tomasz Rybak. It's really good, and it's really easy to add new currently to add new variants, to use this, to extend this, to make it better work with our cloud environment. So we are quite happy that we are moving in this direction. It's still not finished, but we are very far away, very far ahead.
Yeah. So as Thomas said, FAI is easier to extend, to add extra stuff, to customize things. So for the OpenStack image, we are still using a customized script called build OpenStack Debian image. So we are trying to move to FAI until the Bullseye release. We are working on that right now.
We still have two more years, so
yeah. So we have we have plenty of time. We also host all of our Git repositories in Salsa. We are also making use of the Salsa CI. We are building our own workflow to build those images. We are planning to test those images and automatically publish them in those cloud providers, and I don't know, in the future make it available in the marketplace as well. So we will make use of those official accounts that I mentioned before.
Basically now we are publishing in official accounts, but it still requires few manual steps, especially for running tests and for approving publishing of those images. We want to move this to more automatic process, but first we want to make sure that we are building this. We need more testing, we need more thorough testing. We will talk a bit about it in few more slides.
Okay, and now we are developing a new tool for our team. It's an image finder, so we are building many images, and we want to make the life of our users easier to find them. And this is a Google Summer of Code project, and Artu is working on this project, and he will talk a little bit about his project.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ata. So I will show more about the image finder we've been developing for the cloud and for all users. And basically, we have this image finder will have filters that you can search these images for Debian with types, providers, architectures. Also, we have a RSS feed that you can look for new images and an API that you can update like images and providers. And yeah, that's basically what we've been developing now. And the next steps we are going to do is to integrate this image finder to the cloud, to the Debian infrastructure. And I will show a quick demo about what we've been doing.
Yeah, let's try to do that. Okay.
So this first page, you have a bunch of providers. And these providers, you can select one. And you will redirect the user to the next page. And this next page, you have a quick description about that provider and how to run that image. And also in the bottom of the page, you have all the images for that provider. And you can filter. And so, yeah, that's the first page. And the next page.
Wait. The full screen.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay, this one, it's
Sorry.
okay. This one will have a general filter that you can go to the top of the page and do the search.
Okay,
Not
I
this
opened
one.
the wrong file. Sorry. Let me do it properly.
Yeah.
Sorry, some technical problems.
Close the previous one totally.
Okay. We can close this one now and put this one there. Okay, now you.
Okay, this one we have a general filter for these images. So the user will go to the top of the page and do the search, and we'll redirect the user to another page. And this second page, it will be possible to filter all that images with release, architecture, and cloud provider. And also you can click on one of these images and we'll be redirected to another page in which you have more details about that image. Yeah, that's my project. Thank you.
You want to?
Yeah, so basically, if somebody is using only one cloud, it's easy to find all images in this one cloud. On the other hand, if somebody, for various reasons like redundancy or security or something, wants to use various clouds and wants to host Debian on those different clouds, he or she can always get all relevant images with the same Debian version for different clouds, and user will be able to find all those images and then integrate those in their own workflow and in their own scripts or some automation or whatever tools they are using.
Yeah. So that's an interesting project that we've been working on, but besides that we are working on other projects and other tests. So we've been working, some people in the team are working on this, trying to test our images. So we are trying to smoke test our images, trying to boot them, try to check the network, try to check the partitions and the packages that are installed and all this stuff. So we are working on this testing framework and try to integrate them in our Salsa CI pipeline, because we want to improve our images in general and increase the quality. We also have been working in the cloud kernel package that's optimized for the clouds. So we disable some stuff that is not needed in a cloud environment, and we enable some drivers needed by some cloud providers. So this package is smaller, so we can build smaller images, we can boot them faster. So we have been working this cloud kernel package. We also have our own group setup, so it's different for the regular desktop group setup. And specifically, the cloud providers and their customers are very interested in secure boot, because in general they want to make sure they are booting that image and there is no malicious code there. And so some members of the cloud team are also working the EFI Debian team and working on secure boot. And finally, we have it in this Buster release. So it's good news for us. And another project that some people are interested in our team is to push some OpenStack images automatically to some OpenStack providers, some private clouds in general. So some people are trying to find a way. We may use, I don't know, we may use the image finder that Artu is working on. We have an RSS feed. We can try to some way automate, and when we have a new image published, we can push it to those OpenStack instances. So something that we need to discuss. So those are some interest projects. If you have some idea or what we need to do to make it better, feedback's welcome. So as I mentioned, most of our work is done during sprints. So they are milestones for our team in general. They usually happen in autumn, and till now we host this sprints in Seattle, but next sprint we are planning to change stuff, and maybe it will be in MIT, still in planning phase. But when we have something more consolidated, we will have a wiki page, and if you want to join us there and work with us and join our team, you will be welcome. So you should have that soon. And we are in Seattle because there we have offices of the 3 big providers that we are working with. So Google Cloud, AWS, and Microsoft Azure. So that's why we are in Seattle in general. And those sprints are very important because in a face-to-face meeting, we can do a lot of stuff. We can go forward with some discussions and get a lot of things done in general. So that's important for us. So if you want to join our team, sprints are a good way to start working with us. If you want to attend one of those sprints. And of course, we have, in general, some problems when you're talking Debian and cloud, because in general, Debian, we want stability. We don't want to ship new release upstream stable point releases in general, because we can introduce more regressions in general. So the timelines of these cloud providers in general are totally different from ours. They are changing their softwares all the time. They are adding new regions, new features. They want to deploy them as soon as possible. And those kind of things are important for the user experience. In general, we don't need all of them. We usually can use some old stuff and it will work. But to improve the user experience, we need to update all these things, and yeah. So it's hard to, it's a trade-off. We need to find the right balance between this stability that we want in Debian and this quick changing software that we have in these cloud providers. It's a problem that we are facing, and we want to find a solution. Most of those cloud providers, they run agents inside those images. those agents are not always DFSG compliant. So usually if not, they are not suited for main. And so we can put them in our official Debian image, and that's not good for the user experience. So we need to find a way to to work that out. And we have an exception. For instance, the Google Cloud Agent, we have it in main. It's available. It's the DFSG compliant, but I think we have some AWS stuff that's not.
So basically, there are again differences between different cloud providers. So for Google Agent is really vital for running images. For Amazon, for example, it's not necessary because images work, but they work. Only one user can SSH into this particular image, and we don't, for example, have detailed performance counters of running instances, because then Amazon can only check state of instance from outside and not from the inside. And for security reasons, some agents are able to run a particular set of commands which are already predefined, not requiring SSH into this machine, which greatly increases security, but this again requires yet another agent which had really strange license, and we were not able to package it. But as Lucas mentioned, that's why it's important to talk with the cloud providers, to have those sprints, because then we can talk to them and they can fix something from the corporate side, and they can change some software or extract some of those functionalities, so we can use it and we can safely package them in Debian.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the biggest problems that we have. So they are changing fast, and in general we are not, because we want stability. So we had some discussions about the volatile repository before, so I don't know if that is a good solution for us, because with that we will be able to provide those updates in a fast pace. And so something that is under discussion, and we want to listen to you in general if you have an idea how to help us to solve those kind of problems. And yeah, so as I mentioned, we didn't talk too much about technical details. So if you want to do that, you should attend our BOF on Monday. And thanks for your presence, for your attention. And I hope you have some feedback for us. And if you want to make a comment or ask a question, now it's the time. So thank you. Sorry.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
We have some questions.
Is it working?
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to put some facts a bit straighter. On your history, you said we had the first scripts in 2016, though there are OpenStack images since Jesse, and that's 2015, 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
Then the testing images for OpenStack, I believe they are official, and I'd like everyone to use them as much as possible. And one last thing, and I hope we have the time to discuss it during the BOF. So we do have an SPI account for the 3 big cloud providers. If we are to upload images on OpenStack public clouds, then we also need to figure out how to do that, because somehow SPI will need to have an account there. Probably we need to think about cloud provider agreement or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, we mentioned exactly this, that we need to push to discuss how we want to push to OpenStack providers.
All right. Thank you for the talk.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for the talk. I was wondering, how do you deal with security issues? Do you regenerate the images every time there is a DSA, or how do you do it?
So basically, we we rebuild and we publish new images after every .release of Debian, and we also have, please correct me if this is wrong, but at least we were discussing having unattended upgrades and enabling them.
So that's part of the answer. We also specifically, every time there is an update to a package that matters in our images, we generate new images. So literally, I'm watching build process right now going today on new OpenStack images for Buster and Stretch for the latest round of kernel updates. Obviously, for longer running cloud images, it's a good thing that we get security updates, but lots of people want it to be secure immediately from the point it starts up, so we do regenerate regularly.
As technical details, this is sometimes problematic because, for example, on Amazon, when you upload new images, then IDs of those images change because you have AMI minus ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4, and then after updating, you get AMI minus EFG 4, 5, 6. So it means that people need to update their scripts and change their configuration, for example, in auto-scaling groups or something like this. That's why we also want to have this RSS feed in Image Finder, so they can automatically get
those updates.
Yeah, get information about those updates.
Hi. Can the images be verified with OpenPGP?
You mean signing?
They are signed.
I guess they could. We would need to.
I think they are not. Okay.
Guys, maybe come to the stage.
I shouldn't have sat down. So it depends on the context. Some of the platform-provided images, it depends very much on the APIs and whatever, and the how you find the images and how to verify that way. For example, for the OpenStack images that we publish directly, everything is checksummed and they're all signed with our keys. So yes, you can check with PGP.
And then there's an SHA 512 that is published on the Debian website that you can verify with PGP. And then on the OpenStack cloud provider, the same hash appears in Glance, so you can check for it.
But definitely, we're talking about OpenStack at the moment. For the other platforms, it is very platform specific as to exactly how you get to this. We want to have official images for all of the platforms available. So you can download from Debian infrastructure too, but depending on the platform, that can then make it awkward to use those images. It's a difficult story.
Yeah, one last thing. So you can check for these checksum in OpenStack, though of course you still need to trust your service cloud provider, because he could, let's say, rewrite Glance to cheat on that. Though if you have this kind of worries, just don't use that provider. That'd be the message.
So there is another technical details. For example, when you when you download your image from Debian and want to upload this, for example, for Amazon, then you get different ID depending on the region and depending on some date of time or something like this. So it might be hard to totally verify this. So, as Steve and Thomas said, this totally depends on the cloud provider. But at the same time, it's important that we have those official accounts, so we know who has access to those accounts, who can publish these, and then you can be semi-sure that this is only Debian people who build images on Debian hardware and then uploaded this to cloud, and then we need to trust this cloud provider that they didn't change anything nasty, like Thomas said.
This has been something that has been ongoing for a number of years to make sure that people, in no way are we suggesting any of the cloud platforms have been doing bad things, but it can be genuinely difficult to find an official Debian image in some cases, and we want to make sure, for the safety of our users and for free software reasons, that what is described as a Debian image is a real Debian image, and so we all want to make this work well. And yeah, it helps to make sure that there aren't mistakes here as well, and you actually get a genuine thing. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, are there any more questions? We still have few minutes. Or are you getting hungry and waiting for lunch?
Yeah.
Okay, then thank you very much. Thanks for coming.